Hello everyone, welcome back to another episode of r/malicious compliance. In today's episode, Neckbeard tries to buy inferior parts to keep money for the build, malicious compliance intervenes. Accuse me of cheating on an open book collaborative exam? Fine, I'll report myself to the Honor Council. You won't pay $100 for a new hard drive? Okay, enjoy paying $22,000 for my time to deal with the problem. Before we get started, make sure to subscribe so you will never miss a video. So let's get started. Neckbeard tries to buy inferior parts to keep money for the build, malicious compliance intervenes. Since my last story went over so well, I guess I will share another from my time at MacroPoint. Now, some people believe the customer is always right. This is a problematic belief. The truth is, most of the time customer is an entitled twat, but you're supposed to perform admirably anyway. This gets harder when you're dealing with anyone who thinks they know something that they do not. So a guy comes into my department and I greet him at the carpet. I tended to be Johnny on the spot whenever someone came in. Welcome to our build your own department, I'm a Neumaus, what are we putting together today? The man scoffs at me and says, a computer, obviously. All attitude. He was Neckbeard wearing a My Chemical Romance shirt, pants so tight that he had a mushroom top, and mismatched shoes. This was obviously on purpose as both shoes were clean, just didn't fit his look. I didn't take much time examining him. My dad had always told me I gotta get the measure of a man with a glance and look him in the eye the whole time. He literally used test us on this crap. Turn, look, then tell him what cars we saw in that split second. I was decent enough at it, but not great. I instead would tell myself little lyrics on the fly to remember key details. It's become a life habit. I explained this to point out that I wasn't staring at his look, so I'm pretty sure the snickering hens in the general section, who didn't work for us, were the source of his ire about being judged about his look. He took my smile as me thinking something was funny. I feigned ignorance like I didn't hear him, and then when he asked again, I apologized and asked him to speak louder. Told him I was hard of hearing. This relaxed him a bit, thinking I couldn't possibly have heard the hens giving him the business. I did, but I wasn't going to show it. With an attitude he handed me a list and leaned forward shouting, I don't want to be sold nothing. Here's what I need, go get it. I look at the list, and it's pretty thorough. Names of items and SKU numbers. I'm like, bet. This looks like a full build, good money, though a lot of them I identify as cheaper parts. I tell him it'll take me a few minutes and invite him to take a look around in case he sees anything else he might need. He rudely says he'll wait there and he's ain't buying sh*t else, so don't try none of my snake oil salesman crap. I smiled and say, oh no, but it's so good for the joint and muscles. He didn't think it was funny, so I just walked away and got his stuff. Halfway through grabbing his items I realized that he only looked at prices and not what each thing did. His build had an AMD processor, but he wanted an Intel board. The case he wanted was slim and the video card he wanted would not fit, he needed lower profile, though the Intel board had integrated graphics, so I was sure why he picked a card. Also the power supply he wanted was of lower quality and wattage than the one that came with the case. All in all, I was compelled to ask what the hell he was trying to build. I gathered everything quickly and brought it up, going over each piece with him and getting his approval. I then asked him if all of this was for the same build, which he replied with a something smart like, wow, how observant of you. Or something like that. I smiled and tried to inform him that some of those parts would not work together, but he simply cut me off. Listen, I don't need you to try to upsell me. I've been building computers for a while, I know what I'm doing. He did not, and I wanted to question that validity of his claim. I asked him then if he would like to hear about our return policy, just in case. He got belligerent, telling me he knows what he's doing, and how dare I treat him like he's stupid just because of the way he look. Granted, he did look stupid, but I think his ire was more for the cute girls giving him sh*t and some insecurity versus anything I said. Alrighty, you are not interested in our return policy or our extended warranty policy, right? I confirmed. We are supposed to ask about the warranties with everyone, but I figured he was not going to take kindly to that, so all I wanted to do was cover my bases. Warranties are for suckers. Do I look like a sucker? He snapped. Yes, he did, but I wasn't going to say that. I just smiled at him and asked if I could double check his list to see if I got everything. I whipped out my phone and took a picture of everything, along with the list. I knew most of this was coming back. And let him go about his day. I didn't even sticker it. I knew what was coming. 2 days later, Neckbeard shows back up, muffin top, 2 different pairs of shoes, and an anime shirt that made Goku look like he had a fisheye head. He looked embarrassed and angry. He had with him someone who I at first thought was his girlfriend, a little Latina woman who I was certain was either blind or a gold digger, but turned out to be his sister. Absolutely no resemblance. She was friendly and told me she was trying to build a gaming computer to play Crisis. I was a little incredulous, young, and to be honest at that time did not think girls played games like that, so I turned into him and said Crisis, and he shrugged. Little lady stepped up and reiterated herself, with a bit of friendly mocking cause she knew what I was thinking. Apparently she got sh*T for being a gamer girl. I just shrugged and told the truth. There was no way in hell that previous build was gonna play Crisis very well. The brother, whom I'm gonna call Neckbeard from here on out, had an attitude. He said yeah and handed me another list, this one similar to before. He made no explanation for his previous mistake and just told me to get the new items, along with the same line about not upselling him. I looked at the list and knew right away that Build wasn't gonna play that game very well. I mean, I could get him there with a $1,500 build, barely, but this was something like $900, and that video card, don't remember what it was not gonna cut it. I told him so, and that maybe he should look at the game specs online, which would help him make a better decision. He told me he had done his homework and to just get what he said. I looked at his sister, pleading, and told her that I could come up with a system that was both affordable and would run the game decently. He interjected and got mad, threatening to get another salesperson. And said okay, but I knew his *S would be back again. As I'm getting his stuff, I hear him, away from his sister, on the phone. He's telling someone that he wants to finish this up and get the build done. Apparently his parents had allocated some money for this, and he was trying to get a cheap system so he could keep the rest of the money. A real D-bag move, but not my problem. I gathered what he asked for and sent them on their way, didn't tag this stuff either, it was either coming back or could go to the pool. I saw Neckbeard 2 days later with little sister in tow, and his parents. He was not dressed like a disaster that day. His parents did all the talking. There was no list. They told me that they trusted their son to get this done, cause he was good with computers, but the game wasn't working properly, and they were trying to get everything together for their daughter's birthday, which had apparently passed after the first time I met Neckbeard. The parents then told me they only had $3,000 to spend on this computer. They looked up the average price of high-end gaming rigs, and wanted to buy an Alienware, but were convinced by their son to build it themselves, possibly so he can control what they spent. $3,000? This man was trying to snake his parents out of like $2,000 with these shitty builds. They told me to put together something that would work, and I smiled at Neckbeard and said, with a $3,000 limit. They confirmed and I grinned. Cue malicious compliance. I tell them I can definitely do that, and ask if they want to come with me and discuss each part, piece by piece, and why I think they need it for the game. I go with them, and I build a $3,000 system. Neckbeard is losing his shit. Why do we need this? Why do we need that? But no one will listen to him because of his previous failures. I built a system that I'd be proud to own. And got it around 2,700 and then explained the warranty, and how they could have us build it, and have parts and labor on that warranty. Of course they took it. Neckbeard was pissed cause we went a little over, and I even talked his parents into getting a Boss *S monitor for the game. These, I certainly stickered. If Neckbeard hadn't been such a dick, I'd have built him a system that could play the game, and he would have been able to go about his fiendish plan and keep his parents' change. Instead, he got nothing, and his sister got a build that she loved and a case that she apparently always wanted. A white Antec with purple fans. Moral of the story is, don't be a *CK to your salesman. Tell them what you want and need and they will accommodate most times. Or at the very least, know what the heck you're doing. If he'd known computers like he'd claimed, this wouldn't have been an issue. Either way, I'm glad things didn't work out for him. And this time, there were no returns. Accuse me of cheating on an open book collaborative exam? Fine, I'll report myself to the Honor Council. This happened about 10 years ago at my American university. I enrolled in a class that two friends also happened to enroll in, and elected for our major. The professor, whom I will call Professor Y, told us straight off the bat that our entire grade would be based on 2 exams that would be open book, and we could collaborate with anyone else in the class, as long as we cited that we did so. Additionally, it was the kind of exam where you could submit it as many times as you want before the deadline. Professor Y's rules though were that he'd grade easiest on the first try, and much tougher with each subsequent try. Fair enough. Now, some background on this professor. I'm not defending him, but I do think this context is important. He immigrated to the States from another country where women are seen as inferior, and the often expectations of women are to be meek and quiet, maybe less so nowadays, but definitely more so when he was growing up. In class one day, a female student challenged the professor. He argued back, she admitted he made a good point, and he said to her, "You are very agreeable. You'd make a great wife." Now, at this point I probably should have reported him for sexism. However, we all apparently let it slide. He was in his late 60s, he had tenure, so I think we all brushed it aside as harmless, hindsight 20/20ths. I am female, BTW. Fast forward a few weeks into the semester, and the first exam is given to us. My male friend, David, and I did the test together. We submitted it on the same day. On the bottom of my test, I wrote "worked with David" because I wanted to follow the prof's rules. A few days later, we all got our first attempt at the test back. David scored the equivalent of about a C. Remember, he had further chances to improve. My test had a big fat 0 at the top with the words "cheater" written on it. I was shocked. I obviously held back after class and asked why this was written on my test, and Professor Y started screaming at me. "I hate liars. I hate people like you. You are scum. You are a liar." I could not believe what I was hearing. I was sobbing, explaining that he said, and it was in the syllabus, that we could work with other students. I asked where I had cheated, and Professor Y had literally underlined the first 5 words of "O&E question were both David," and I had started off the paragraph saying something like, "The reason that we are seeing these results is..." And that was it. I asked him why he thought I cheated and not David. But Professor Y would not listen to me, continued to insult me until I left. Now, my university was super strict about plagiarism and cheating. We got emails like once a week about the Honor Council. All the emails said that anyone caught cheating would be reported to the Honor Council and sit trial. So I went to their office and reported myself. They were all confused and were like, "Wait, you're reporting yourself?" Not the professor, and I told them calmly that I had been accused and given a 0 without any evidence, so I wanted to sit trial. They incredulously told me no student had ever asked for a trial, but I was following the university rules, and I was confident I would win. Needless to say, Professor Y was not happy. At the next class, he pulled me after class and screamed yet again that they were his rules in his class, and he decides the grades, not the Honor Council. I said that's not the university's policy, and if he thought I was cheating, he should have gone to them. Since he didn't, I did. He was livid and tried to bully me to back down, but I didn't. We had the trial, and I obviously won. At the end of the semester, I organized a meeting with the dean of the school and filed a formal sexism complaint against Professor Y. The dean, also incredulous, promised to launch a formal investigation into this professor and would be meeting with him to discuss. I'm sure that nothing happened besides a slap on the wrist, but even a slap on the wrist was worth it. You won't pay $100 for a new hard drive? Okay, enjoy paying $22,000 for my time to deal with the problem. I had a job where I had a computer which was, incidentally, also the web server for a very important internal web application. I thought this was really stupid that it wasn't in a server room being managed by IT, but for some weird reason they wouldn't do it. I didn't use this application or have anything to do with it, but it took up a large chunk of the hard drive and made it slow. I didn't even know what it was on the hard drive, so there was a bunch of old development software I could never remove for fear of harming the application. I was also not permitted to turn the machine off or even sign out nights or weekends, so it would be running whenever anyone needed the application. I had to just lock the screen and leave it. This application was apparently something developed by my department before I joined the company, and everyone involved with it was no longer there, and nobody really knew anything about how it worked other than that this machine had to be running and signed in, and it wasn't developed in our normal system and wasn't in our code repository. By the end of my time with the company, they'd had such turnover that I was literally the only person in the department who knew it was even there. I was a web developer, and I required a vast amount of disk space for my work, for reasons mostly relating to how moronic management was about process. I had to keep 3 complete copies of everything the company ever developed. I often ran out of disk space. I had to use increasingly desperate measures to deal with this, up to and including deleting anything that Microsoft included with Windows that I didn't actually need, like the camera app on a PC with no camera. It quickly got to the point that I had to call IT to tell them my PC was becoming unusable due to disk space, and could they please do something about it, and suggested that because of this application they might want to take this PC into management and give me a different one. I thought they would do something like replace the computer, identical would be fine as long as it didn't have this application on it, or give it a larger internal disk, or maybe even just attach an external disk. I would still have a slow machine, but I'd have had the space to do my work. But they told me that I'd have to remove what I could and defrag the disk to make more space, and I would just have to suffer, and please don't call them about this again. I talked to my boss and was told that IT's word was final, and I would just have to deal with it. So it'd get bad, I'd remove what I could and start a defragment, and the machine would become too slow for me to use for about 24 hours, during which time I could do no work. This happened about once a week, so it took about 1/5 of my time. Not counting time spent looking for stuff to delete. I kept telling Manglement this was happening, and they kept telling me to shut up and deal with it, but at least when they wanted me to do stuff, and it was I can't, my computer is busy clearing disk space, and is presently unusable, they moaned but understood and left me alone. So, because IT was too lazy to do anything and Manglement was too lazy to go to bat for me and the company was unwilling to spend $100 on an external hard drive, they got to spend over $22,000 a year on salary for me to sit around and wait for the machine to make some space, so I could do my work. That wasn't my salary. That was the portion of my salary that they were wasting on this problem. Not counting the value of the time of everyone else that had to do my work while I couldn't. Oh, and it was getting to the point that I wouldn't be able to deal with it at all, there wasn't anything left to delete and defragging wasn't reclaiming any more space, and the company's internal software took up more and more space every day, and I estimated I had about a week left before it became fully unusable, when I had a heart attack and a stroke and never went back. I occasionally think, with, admittedly, some glee, of the panic it must have caused when they no doubt turned off the computer and sent it to IT to be wiped, and a few hours later panicked users started calling demanding to know where their precious application that they couldn't live without was, only for my evil Manglement to say, honestly, what application? If you made it to the end of the video, thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe and share, and we will see you in the next video.